Picture a man standing alone in a spotlight, adored by millions yet utterly unknown, even to himself. Michael Jackson, the king of pop, wasn't just a performer. He was a paradox, a global icon whose dazzling mask hid a fractured soul. Behind the sequined gloves and moonwalk, he wrestled with a question that haunted him. Who was he when the world stopped watching? Fame transformed him, but at what cost? In this 8-minute journey, Shadow Motive peels back the layers of Michael Jackson's public persona to reveal the dark psychological toll of celebrity worship, the agony of identity fragmentation, and a man lost in the mirror of his own myth. What drives someone to reshape their face, their life, to escape themselves? Let's find out. Michael Jackson's rise was meteoric, but it began in shadows. As a child prodigy with the Jackson 5, he was thrust into the spotlight at age 5, performing for crowds while his father, Joseph, wielded control with an iron grip. By his teens, Michael was a star, but the cost was already mounting. Psychologists call this identity foreclosure, when a young person's sense of self is shaped by external forces before they can define it themselves. Michael's childhood wasn't his own, it was a stage, and he was the puppet. His early hits like I Want You Back masked a growing unease, a sense that he was performing not just for fans, but for survival. The world saw a prodigy. He saw a boy desperate to be enough. This tension planted the seeds of a lifelong battle. Could he ever separate Michael the person from Michael, the icon? By the 1980s, Michael Jackson was untouchable. Thriller redefined music, selling over 65 million copies and cementing his godlike status. But with fame came a suffocating paradox. The more the world worshipped him, the more he retreated. He began altering his appearance, skin lightening, nose surgeries, a sculpted jawline, each change a step further from the boy he once was. Psychologists point to body dysmorphic disorder, where someone fixates on perceived flaws, but Michael's changes went deeper. They were an attempt to rewrite his identity, to escape the scrutiny that came with being the world's biggest star. Celebrity worship, a phenomenon where fans project godlike qualities onto stars, trapped him in a gilded cage. Every move was watched, every flaw magnified. To cope, he crafted a persona, ethereal, otherworldly, but it was a mask that grew heavier with every flashbulb. The 1990s brought darker storms. Allegations of child abuse in 1993, though settled out of court, shattered Michael's carefully curated image. The media turned predatory, and the public's adoration soured into suspicion. This was when his isolation deepened. Friends described him retreating into a fantasy world, surrounding himself with children and animals, as if seeking purity in a life stripped of it. Psychologically, this reflects identity fragmentation, when constant scrutiny splinters one's sense of self into disconnected pieces. Michael the performer was invincible. Michael the man was unraveling. His music, like Dangerous in History, grew raw, defiant, yet laced with pain. Songs like Stranger in Moscow revealed a man aching for connection, lost in a world that both worshipped and vilified him. The mask was cracking, but the world only saw the spectacle. Michael's later years were a tragic crescendo. By the 2000s, his health deteriorated. Prescription drugs, insomnia, and a body worn thin by stress. The 2009 This Is It tour rehearsals were his last attempt to reclaim the stage, but those close to him saw a man haunted. He spoke of feeling like a machine, unable to stop performing for a world that demanded more. The psychological toll of celebrity worship had eroded his core. Studies show that relentless public scrutiny can lead to depersonalization, a state where someone feels detached from their own identity. Michael wasn't just hiding behind a mask, he was losing himself to it. When he died on June 25, 2009, at age 50, the world mourned the icon, but few understood the man, a soul fragmented by the very fame that defined him. Now, let's pause and look closer. Michael Jackson's story isn't just his, it's a mirror for us all. Celebrity worship doesn't just harm stars, it distorts how we see ourselves. We idolize perfection, chasing images that don't exist, while hiding our own insecurities behind curated masks. Psychologists warn that social media amplifies this, turning us all into performers in our own lives. Michael's battle with identity asks us, who are we when the likes stop coming? His surgeries, his isolation, his desperate need to be seen yet unseen, they reflect a universal hunger for acceptance, twisted by a world that demands flawlessness. Shadow Motive isn't here to judge Michael, we're here to understand him, and through him, ourselves. So, what's the legacy of the King of Pop? Michael Jackson gave us music that transcended time, but he also left a warning. Fame is a double-edged sword and identity is fragile. His mask was his shield, his prison, and ultimately his undoing. As we stream Billie Jean or watch old moonwalk clips, let's remember the man behind the myth. A man who reshaped himself to fit our gaze, only to lose who he was. What masks do you wear to face the world? And what would happen if you let them fall? That's the question Michael's life leaves us, echoing in the shadows of his brilliance.